Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with the story of a cocky new hire, a seasoned lift operator, and a little lesson in humility. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Training a new ski lift operator who thinks he's the best thing that's ever happened to the industry. So I got this guy over to my lift. We were short-staffed, so we had a guy at the top and me at the bottom with this new guy on his first day of training. For the first 5 hours, we're both at the bottom, and this new kid was doing great. He picked up the job almost instantly. The only issue I had with him at that point was that he was cocky as hell and seemed to think that within 5 hours he'd become the greatest lift operator in history, even going so far as to lecture me on things he thought I was doing wrong. Before this whole first 5 hours, I taught him how to start the lift. On this lift, part of the opening procedure was checking the reading on the hydraulic pressure gauge on the tensioning system. This involved climbing up a 15-foot ladder and walking across a catwalk above the loading area. This was the only thing the kid had a hard time with, as it was obvious he was badly afraid of heights. For the next 5 hours, he was constantly running his mouth and acting like he's ready for everything, making my job of training him much harder. The whole time, I was just constantly thinking about the sweet, sweet justice that was soon to unfurl. Eventually, some of the afternoon shift guys came over, so they were able to take care of the new guy and the lift while I took my lunch break. I got back and could tell after half an hour that the afternoon guys already couldn't stand this cocky idiot, although he did the job well enough that they just left it all on him. At this point, the guy said something along the lines of, "I could run this whole lift by myself," and something about the other guys being dumb as bricks. This is when I asked him if he was ready to go up. "Up," he says, which I replied with, "Well, yeah, the guy at the top wants to take his break, so let's go up there and I'll train you on that." "The top?" "Yeah, you did notice you've been running a chairlift all day. Now we have to go up to the other end of it." "You mean we have to ride this thing?" His jaw dropped, and it looked like he just took a punch to the face. So I got another guy to take over bumping chairs while the two of us went for a fun little journey to the top, a ride I'd been waiting 5 hours for. We're maybe 10 feet off the ground when he grabs the safety bar, slams it down, and is sitting white-knuckled in fear as we climb to our eventual altitude of 30 feet above the snow, although it can give a false perspective, appearing higher. This kid's absolutely terrified. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting back enjoying a cigarette. The lift stopped, as it often does, and despite the fact he himself had stopped this lift countless times earlier, he started freaking out. "Why'd we stop? What the F is going on here?" This is when I told him to just look up and take his mind off it. So he's looking up at the sky and the cable and starting to calm down when the lift starts moving again. We come to a support tower, so I point out how everything works and how each sheave wheel has only about 3/8 of rubber and 1/4 inch of steel, keeping the cable from running right off the side, as well as a whole lot of tension. Then I point out the grip. This is where the chair attaches to the haul rope cable. I point out how it's not really attached, it's just kind of clamped on there and designed to be loose enough to slip a little bit at a time. Then I also noticed that 1-inch steel bolt sticking out of the side of the grip. See how it's just held on there with a nut and that dinky little cotter pin? That's literally the only thing that's preventing us from free-falling 30 feet and crashing into the solid ice below. The rest of the day, he didn't say much, nor did he return for work the next day, or anyone after that. I bet the ride down was even better. Seeing all that empty space in front of you is a little nerve-wracking. And our second story. "Here's that printout you wanted, sir. All 400 pages of it." I work IT and software development at an engineering firm in the city of country music and tourists in cowboy hats. Last month, we hired a new sales guy. He's young, over-enthusiastic. I shall call him Young Buck. Young Buck thinks he knows everything, yet every time I try to explain to him, even at the most basic level, the inner machinations of the customizable software package we offer to customers, it's as if I'm shooting a laser into a black hole. I have to show him how to minimize a window on his computer. So when he asked me one morning last week to print out the source code for our software so he could read it, I, of course, asked him to repeat himself, as I was unsure I'd heard him correctly. Yes, I need to understand this thoroughly so I can sell it to our customers. You want more billable hours, don't you? Yes, I don't make a commission like you do, but those always look good on my review. A printout, however, would be a bad idea. I could show you how to open the files with Notepad if you... I'd rather have something physical. Now, there are a few things to note about our software package's source code. It's been cobbled together from years of development, even before my time, though I've refactored and rewritten most of it. There are 14 main modules, which I customize and deploy according to our customers' needs. The base code is just a genericized version. We almost never deploy all the modules, so the packages we deliver are usually simpler. With all the base code, which, might I add, is heavily and meticulously commented/documented, the printout would easily reach 400 pages. There's reason one. Reason two would be that our source code is a trade secret, and for the sake of the company, I don't want it floating around in meat space. I tried to convey both of these to young Buck. I could almost see my words shooting right out the opposite ear. He didn't like it when I told him I wouldn't do it. No, he didn't. So I was already half expecting it when the general manager called me. The current general manager is a guy in his 60s, balding, bespectacled, but with an imposing build, talks with words clipped by a northern Midwest U.S. accent. Iris, young Buck's telling me you won't print out our source code for him. Yes, and that's because, Iris, we take cooperation very seriously at this company. You need to cooperate with sales so they can sell your product alongside our projects. That's not a good idea because, listen, I don't want excuses. We need more sales. Just get on it. And make me a copy too. It sounds interesting. Now, young Buck is computer illiterate. General manager is twice as bad. They're fine people, good at what they do, but they would see my source code as Eldritch Runes and Necronomicon. All right, time for some malicious compliance. Can I get that in an email then? 2 minutes later, the email appears in my inbox, I save it, and print myself a copy. Then I open Visual Studio, open my base code project, open the main class, print. MSSQL handler, print. TCP handler, print. OPC handler, print. TCP listener, print. Oracle handler, print. ZPL, EPL, IPL handler, print. Main logic loop, print. The code behind for the interface, print. The WinForms designer for the interface, print. I ran out of paper twice before I had one copy ready. The final product was pushing 2 inches thick and made quite a satisfying thump as I sat it down on the general manager's desk. I wish, dear reader, you could have seen his face when he realized what he'd asked for. I never ended up printing a second copy. General manager shredded his copy because I had flabbergasted him enough to be able to explain, without interruption, that the source code was a trade secret and reassured him that it's on our network drive anyway. I gave both him and young Buck access to the folder as per a second email request. In 10 days since, nobody's accessed that folder but myself. People that are computer or even just technologically illiterate are hilarious and dangerous at the same time. Even more dangerous when they think they're competent, too. And our last story. Bought a house, neighbor claims part of our garden is his. We bought a house in mid-Wales a few weeks ago, and our next-door neighbor knocked on our door to say that part of our back garden belongs to him and that we need to give him his land back and build a fence to separate it. He was quite rude about it, like it was our fault, even though we've just moved in. He also said that our sellers knew about this issue but did nothing to rectify it. The disputed area is between the side wall of the neighbor's garage, a border between us and him, and 2 concrete posts that are in our garden, and it's roughly 40 centimeters wide by 4 meters long. Looking at all the other houses in the area, they do have those concrete posts in their gardens too, and they're always literally touching the fence, so we do believe that piece of land belonged to the neighbor when these houses were built, but not for a while. Looking at Google Street View photos going back as far as 2008, both gardens always looked the same. Concrete posts were in our garden and the garage was the border. No fence. As we just bought the house, we contacted our conveyancer and they got in touch with the seller who said they know nothing about neighbor's claim. Based on that, our conveyancer said that there's nothing they can do. As that piece of land is really small, we said that we would be happy to give that land to them, but we're not happy with the fact that they were expecting us to pay for the fence in full. There's no fence there at the moment, as the side of their garage is the natural border. Also, part of our shed is on the disputed land, so we would have to move it or rebuild it, which would raise the cost of all this significantly. They said that the fence is our responsibility and the shed is ours, so we'll have to pay for it all. We feel that the neighbor's trying to take advantage of us as we're new to the area. Update. After getting the land survey, it was clear that the disputed strip of land was indeed part of our property, so we approached our neighbor again, showing him the survey results and explaining that legally the land belonged to us. We also made it clear that while we were open to discussions about the fence, we wouldn't be paying for it in full, nor would we move our shed unless he agreed to share the costs. The neighbor wasn't happy, but he couldn't dispute the official survey. Eventually, he begrudgingly agreed to split the cost of the fence. We also agreed to move our shed, but only after he covered half the expenses. In the end, standing up for ourselves and ensuring we had all the legal documentation on our side helped resolve the situation. While our relationship with the neighbor isn't exactly friendly, it's civil, and we now have clear boundaries set in place. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.